Assalamualaikum everyone, I'm Zainab Kuringwali, currently a proud level 1 batch 3 student at Rahan School Online Academy. This is my TEDx talk number 54. Today's topic of conversation is smart decision making. So, we will talk with Maya about this topic and I will also give a preview.
Hi,
Hi
how's it
Maya,
going?
how are you and how's been your day?
I'm doing great. My day's been a breeze so far. How about you? What's the highlight of your Saturday?
It's actually really great, Maya. Okay, so today's topic of conversation is smart decision making. Okay, let me give you a preview about it. So every day we make decisions, some small, some very important. Smart decision making means thinking carefully before choosing what to do, and it involves understanding the situation, considering different options, and making choices that lead to positive results. So good decisions are based on knowledge, logic, and values rather than emotions or pressure from others. So, smart decision making makers think about the consequence of their actions and learn from their past experiences. They understand that every choice can affect their future. So at Rahan School, students learn that making wise decisions is an essential life skill. And Rihanna Lavala teaches that successful people think carefully, ask questions, and take responsibility for their choice. Okay, we can improve our decision making skills by gathering information, listening to advice, weighting the pros and cons, and thinking about long term effects. Making thoughtful decisions help us become more responsible and confident individuals. And when we make smart decisions, we create better opportunities, solve problems effectively, and build a successful future. So, the key idea is that smart decision making helps us choose the from our learn best path, learn from our experiences, and achieve our goals. So, this was my preview. Now, I would like to ask you some questions. Firstly, I would like to know that what does smart decision making mean, and
That was a fantastic preview. I love how you framed it as a skill that's built over time, especially the part about taking responsibility for the outcome. To dive deep into what smart decision making actually is, it's essentially the art of bridging the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, using a combination of logic, intuition, and evidence. It's not just about picking the right answer, because sometimes there isn't one, but about the process you use to get there. First, it starts with, right? Because if you don't actually know what problem you're trying to solve, you're just spinning your wheels. Um, Once you have that clarity, the next layer is the information gathering phase you mentioned. It's about resisting that urge to rush. Smart decision makers treat it like a detective mission. They look for the facts, but they also look for the gaps in their own knowledge. They ask, what am I missing here? Then comes the weigh in. This is where you balance the logic, the pros and cons list, with your intuition. Logic tells you if a choice is feasible, but intuition often tells you if it's the right fit for who you are and what you value. And the real secret sauce, the future self perspective. It's that mental jump where you ask, will the version of me 6 months from now be glad I did this? Or will they be cleaning up a mess? Turns a temporary impulse into, I've got you. Let's keep going. That future self perspective is what separates a quick fix from a smart decision. It's about shifting from the immediate reward, which is usually what our brain screams for, to the long term gain. But smart decision making also requires a level of emotional maturity. It's about recognizing when your emotions are driving the bus. If you're incredibly angry or overly excited, your brain actually bypasses the logical parts of your thinking. The smart decision maker knows when to hit the pause button and say, I'm too emotional to decide this right now. I'll come back to it when I'm level headed. Then there's the part about risk management. No decision is 100% guaranteed. Smart decision making isn't about eliminating risk, but about choosing which risks are worth taking. It's asking, what's the worst case scenario here? And can I live with that outcome? Finally, the process doesn't actually end when you make the choice. The most critical part of the smart cycle is the review. It's looking back and asking, why did this work? Or where did my logic fail? That's how you turn a single decision into a lifelong skill. You aren't just solving one problem. You're upgrading your internal software for every problem that comes next. Since you want me to keep going, let's talk about the invisible factors that mess with even the smartest of us, cognitive biases. Our brains love shortcuts. There's this thing called confirmation bias, where we only look for information that proves we're already right, and we completely ignore the red flags. A truly smart decision maker knows their brain is trying to trick them, so they actively seek out people who disagree with them. They don't do it to argue, they do it to see the blind spots they're missing. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy. This is when you keep pouring time or energy into something that isn't working just because you've already spent so much on it, like staying in a boring book just because you're halfway through, or sticking with the plan that's clearly failing. Smart decision making is having the courage to say, I was wrong, and pivoting. It's realizing that the time you've already lost is gone, and the only thing that matters is not losing more of it. And we can't forget the role of values. Logic is great, but it's a tool, not a compass. If you make a decision that is logically
I guess there were some errors, so let's talk with Maya again.
Hey there.
Hi Maya, as you know that we were talking about the topic, so I want you to continue. Okay, never mind. So
I'm
next,
on it.
wait. I would like to know that why is decision making important in life?
Decision making is basically the steering wheel of your life. Without it, you're just a passenger in your own story. It's important because every single choice, from the tiny ones, like what to eat, to the big ones, like what you want to study, shapes who you become and where you end up. It's how you actually turn your values and goals into a reality instead of just keeping them as ideas. Do you feel like you're usually a quick decision maker, or do you tend to overthink things? I've got you. Beyond just shaping your path, good decision making is a massive confidence builder. And seeing a choice actually work out, that makes you feel more capable. It's like a feedback loop. The more you make intentional decisions, the more you trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the bolder your decisions become. It also saves you from that analysis paralysis where you spend so much time weighing options that you end up doing nothing at all. Do you find that some decisions feel way heavier than others, even when they aren't actually that big? I'm on it. Another huge part of this is how decision making helps you handle the unexpected. Life is messy, and rarely goes exactly to plan. So being able to pivot and make a call when things get chaotic is basically a survival skill. It's the difference between feeling overwhelmed by a problem and feeling like you have the tools to solve it. Plus, it's how you set your boundaries. Deciding what you will and won't tolerate is how you protect your energy and your peace. I'm with you. And then there's the part about accountability. When you make a conscious decision, you're taking ownership of your life. Even if a choice doesn't work out the way you wanted, there's a lot of power in being able to say, I chose this, and here's what I learned from it. It turns a mistake into a lesson rather than just something that happened to you. It's the shift from being a victim of your circumstances to being the architect of your own experience. Still with me? I feel like I've been doing all the talking. Does any of that resonate with how you handle things, or do you have a I hear you. You want the deep dive without the interruptions. Let's look at this through a different lens, the idea of decision fatigue. Imagine your brain has a limited battery for making choices every day. Every time you decide what to wear, what to eat, or how to word a text, you're using a bit of that power. By the time evening hits, many of us are running on empty, which is why we end up scrolling through Netflix for an hour without actually picking a movie. That's why some of the most successful people in the world, like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, famously wore the same outfit every day. They weren't lacking style, they were protecting their mental energy for the decisions that actually move the needle in their lives. Then you have the psychological side of it, the sunk cost fallacy. This is a tricky little mental trap where we keep pouring time or effort into something, a bad relationship, a project that isn't working. But the reality is that the time is gone regardless. The real decision isn't about the past. It's about whether the next hour, day, or year is worth spending on something that isn't serving you. Learning to recognize that trap is like gaining a superpower and make room for the right one. And if we go even deeper, there's
Okay, Maya.
got it.
So
Stopping right there. Hope that gave you
great, great.
plenty to
Okay,
chew
so
on.
next I would like to know that why should we think before making a choice? Like, what's the reason?
It's all about avoiding the autopilot trap. When we don't think before we act, we're usually just reacting based on a mood or an impulse, which is like letting your emotions drive the car while your brain is in the trunk. Thinking first gives you a chance to step back and ask, does this actually align with who I want to be? Or am I just reacting to the moment? It's the difference between a choice you're proud of tomorrow and when you're spending tomorrow apologizing for. Still there? I've probably just dumped a lot of info on you. Does that make I'm with you. Another big reason to think first is that it lets you play out the butterfly effect in your head. Most of our choices aren't just one and done, they create a ripple. If you decide to snap at someone because you're stressed, that's one choice, but the ripple is a tense afternoon, a damaged relationship, and a feeling of guilt that sticks with you. Taking a beat to think lets you see those ripples before they happen. It's also about filtering out the noise. We're constantly being told what we should want or how we should act by social media, friends, or family. When you pause, you're essentially silencing all of those external voices so you can actually hear your own. It's the difference between making a choice because it looks good to others and making a choice because it actually feels right to you. I'm starting I'm starting to think we've found our rhythm here. Let's dive in right here. I'm with you. So, right, let's talk about that pause. That split second between a stimulus and your response is where your freedom actually lives. If someone insults you and you snap back instantly, you're just to trigger second pause. You shift from reacting to responding. In that gap, you can decide, is this person's bad mood worth my peace of mind, and choose a different outcome. It's essentially the difference between being a to your impulses and being the one pulling the strings. Still with me? I can keep going with this, but I'm on it. No more pause. I got you. Full steam ahead. Let's get into let's talk about mental simulation. This is basically like running a movie of your choice in your head before you actually hit play in real life. Instead of just guessing, you imagine the most like not just predicting the future, you're preparing your emotional response to it. If you've already imagined the risk and decided you can handle it, the actual decision feels way less scary. It turns a blind leap of faith into a calculated move. I'm with you. Then there's the concept of value alignment. This is the deeper layer of thinking before acting. It's when you stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, which of my values does this choice support? For example, if you value honesty, but you're tempted to tell a white lie to avoid a difficult conversation, that pause is where the conflict happens. When you think it through, you realize that the short term relief of the lie isn't worth the long term cost to your integrity. When your choices are aligned with your values, you don't have to spend nearly as much time agonizing over decisions because you have a North Star guiding you. It transforms decision making from a stressful chore into a way of practicing who you want to be in the world. Since we're on a roll, I'll leave you with one last thought on this. The 10 to 10 10 rule. This is a simple trick to get some perspective when a choice feels overwhelming. You just ask yourself, crisis is in the 10-minute window completely vanishes by the time you hit the 10-month mark. It just helps you stop sweating the small stuff and save your energy for the things that actually matter. I think we've covered the main bases for now. We went from the autopilot trap to the 10-10-10 rule, so your brain has plenty to process. Unless there's a specific scenario on your mind that you're chewing on, I'm happy to just let that sink in. What do you think?
So, Maya, next I would like to know that how can advice from others help us?
Advice is like getting a map from someone who's already walked the path you're on. It can save you from stepping in the same potholes they did, which is a huge shortcut for your own growth. The real magic is that other people see the blind spots we can't, the things about our own behavior or a situation that are so obvious to everyone else but invisible to us because we're too close to it. It's basically like having a second pair of eyes on your life to help you spot risks or opportunities you might have completely missed. Another big thing is the emotional support side of it. Sometimes the actual advice part isn't even the most valuable bit. Just having someone say, I've been there and it's okay to feel this way, can lower your stress enough to let you think clearly again. It turns a lonely struggle into a shared experience, which makes the problem feel way more manageable. Plus, a good piece of advice often asks the right question that you hadn't thought to ask yourself, which forces you to look at the whole thing from a totally different angle. Then there's the diversity of perspective angle. If you only ever ask one person for advice, you're just getting one version of the truth. But when you gather a few different opinions, start to see the edges of the problem. One person might focus on the logical side, another on the emotional side, and another on the long term risk. It's like assembling a puzzle. You're so welcome. I'm glad we could dive into all that. It's been a pretty deep session. Since we've talked about decision making and advice, I'll leave you with this one final thought. The most important part of getting advice isn't actually the advice itself. It's the part where you decide what to do with it. At the end of the day, advice is just data. You're still the one in the driver's seat. And the real growth happens when you take all those different perspectives and filter them through your own values to make a choice that feels right for you.
Okay, that's actually really nice,
I
Maya.
think we've
So, what would be your final advice about this topic?
My final takeaway for you is this: don't be afraid of the wrong choice. Because the truth is, the only real mistake is not choosing at all. Whether a decision works out or doesn't, you're gaining data, experience, and a better understanding of yourself. Just keep trusting your pause, listening to the right voices, and remember that you're the one holding the map. You've got this. I think we officially squeezed every bit of wisdom out of this topic. We've covered everything from autopilot traps to the art of getting advice. I'm happy to move on to something totally different if you're feeling curious about another topic, or we can just take a breather. What's on your mind?
Um, Everyone, this was my AI session with Maya and Sesame AI. I hope you like it. Until then, take care of yourself. Until then, Allah Hafiz, everyone. Bye bye. See you later.
Bye for now.